Just a moment.
Sure.
Excuse me. I guess my question to you, Ed, is did you get the call again?
What calls that, Greg?
Do you remember back before a vote or an issue was to come before the county commission, and you called me about 9:30 the night before the county commission meeting?
Yes, I
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember what your words to me were?
Honestly, Greg, I remember calling you, and it was something
Well,
related to that, but
I
refresh my memory and I'll tell you.
I can refresh your memory. You indicated that the members of my backers, or the PAC,
Yeah, the CSPAC, Common Sense Political Action,
Yeah.
which we believe
that
we were working for common sense for county taxpayers,
right.
which you and I worked together on.
Yes, for a while. The thing that you said, the things that you said were that they had called you. You didn't say who had called you, but
Oh, yes,
that
I recall. The people who had supported you in your election,
right.
and we were led to believe that you felt as we did.
You know, you weren't led to believe that. You chose to believe that. What I said in every one of my campaign appearances was that I would look at all sides of the issue. I would listen to everybody, and that I was not going to make a decision before I had done that. And that's what I said every time.
You did. I agree 100%.
Okay. And as I did look at those things, I began to see that there was a difference. And at the time that I made that decision, I said that it was very difficult because there were a lot of people who I felt close to that I knew I was going to be letting down. I said that in the county commission meeting. However, what I said was, after I looked at everything, I could not in good conscience vote to do away with the ambulance authority. And now we get back once again to what you said to me that night on the phone. You said we've been friends for a long time. Yes, we have been. You indicated that those backers, if you want to call them that, would forgive me if I changed my position and voted to do away with the ambulance authority. And in addition to that, I wouldn't have to worry about Tammy Beamer writing about me all the time.
I didn't say that, right?
Yes, you did.
I did.
Yes.
I said you would not face the criticism. I didn't say Tammy. I promise you that. I said you won't face it. I said if you make this choice the next day, when you make that choice, you're going to open yourself up and you're going to be attacked from all sides.
Yeah. I remember it a little differently, Ed, but here's the issue, Ed, is because there are certain people that have their desires, am I supposed, and that they backed me in an election, does that mean that they buy my vote? No, it doesn't mean, my vote can't be bought. And it never will be, it never has been. And to propose to me that I would be forgiven is really an insult to me.
Well,
And the,
Greg, I don't recall using that word.
well,
But you remember mine, differ on that.
well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I find it rather interesting. You say that her name wasn't wasn't brought up. But I find it rather interesting that shortly thereafter, the articles in the paper started. And I couldn't do a thing that was right in her opinion. Now, it may be coincidence, I don't know.
I can guarantee you it is coincidence.
You know,
You're questioning my integrity when you say, or lead people to believe that I contacted someone and asked them to attack you. I didn't have to do that. I knew that was happening.
I didn't say that.
But I did not.
I didn't say that you contacted anybody. And I don't believe that I really don't believe that you would do that, Ed.
No.
What I believe was that, yes, you received a phone call, and yes, you passed along the information from others. And I'll go to my grave believing that that's what happened.
Well, that's true. I told you on the phone, I said,
Right.
I have gotten people call me who were on that CSPAC, I've had people call me, and I'll just tell you now, Tammy was one of them. But I said I've had people who called me, and they're very upset with you. And I told you that, and that was the truth.
You know, if I had, and I've seen it on topics and other places that, what I supposedly said when I was campaigning, and then went back on. Well, if you want to go back and review, you'll see that I did not say anything during the campaign.
I was there when you spoke at the debate, and I would verify that you absolutely said you would not make any statement on your position.
Right.
And you would look, once you were elected, if you were elected, that you would look at both sides and
Right.
make the best decision you could for the county. And I've never thought that you said anything else. But I will say that the purpose of that organization was to elect someone, and I think everyone who attended those meetings knew that our desire was to elect someone who would bring some common sense. And you were writing articles in paper saying that you didn't agree with taxpayers' money being spent to the degree it was. And when you attended our meetings and spoke, as if you were going along with what our group believed in, then I had no way to think anything but that you leaned in that direction. You never said you did.
Things change. Just to give you an example, Butch is the only one that's still on the commission at that point in time, but there was a lady came before the county commission, and it was an after-school program, and she requested $15,000. And they went through probably a half hour to 45 minutes discussion, and they wanted to give the lady money, and it was a good cause. It was something that if the county commission could, they should.
Right.
They offered her $250. Now, why? Because they thought she didn't deserve, or she didn't have a good program? No. It was because Shirley Williams went over twice to Beth Keller, and Beth told her, Shirley, there's no money in the budget. And when she came back the second time and said there's no money in the budget, Kay Hudson was sitting right there and saying, no money in the budget or no money in the bank? And she said, no money in the budget. The times are different now. And I said in the beginning, the reasons that the DCAA was formed were wrong. There should have been discussions between the county commission and the DCEMS. The DCEMS should have been willing to sit down and discuss, and so should the county commission, and come to some agreement. But you see, whenever you come to some agreement, Ed, do you consider this a discussion? If you and I sit down and we're to discuss a certain outcome, and I sit down and I say, here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, 3. And you say, well, I thought, and I say, no, here's what we're going to do. 1, 2, and 3. Now, is that a discussion? Is that a negotiation? Or is that just a demand?
It would be a demand.
Yeah. And
it would not be approaching a subject in the right manner, I would say.
Right. Now, if you recall, and you were on that committee with me when we sat down with the representatives from the DCEMS up in Clarksburg, and then right down here.
Right.
And what was the position of the DCEMS?
I didn't agree with the position.
Right.
And I was asked this morning, honestly, they said the proposal that was presented for a potential merger, they said, I was asked, was that yours or did somebody else come up with that idea? And I said, no, I did. It was my idea.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'll be honest with you. I tell you where I stand and where I think and what I believe. And yes, I disagreed with the position of the EMS during that meeting, and I left in anger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't think anger should continue to guide what we do as a county, because that's what initially destroyed the emergency squad, was bitterness and anger between the leader of the EMS, and I was on the EMS board of directors at that time. It was anger and animosity between a county commissioner, one county commissioner,
right,
and the president of the DCEMS, and that was a mistake for our county.
Right.
So I'm saying, I let my anger go, but I don't think as a county we should allow our anger to control sound decisions. And so I walked out of that meeting and I wasn't happy and threw my hands up. But I still think the county commission needs to be a little bit bigger than I was.
Well, my opinion, Ed, is I don't see any way that there's going to be any resolution other than capitulation on the from the county commission. And I don't, as I said, well, let me back up. When I made the proposal, and I was the one that made the proposal, I asked the other two county commissioners, I said, do I have your all's permission to seek combining the two organizations? And I used that exact...
And I've told everyone that you did honestly seek to do that.
I did. And I don't know that you were there at the time, but what I said was, folks, if we are going to succeed at this, we have to put all this ill will behind us. Which my proposal was a third organization with a new board of directors, a new organization. Dump the assets of the EMS into that. However, it has to be handled from the DCAA point of view as far as getting those assets into, whether it's a 99-year lease or whatever, bringing that together.
And I agree with that.
I said,
nothing wrong with that.
And we need a new board of directors, and we need new management. And I said, and when we go to do this, I said, everybody that enters into this room in negotiations needs to check their ego at the door. That's exactly the words that I used. And I said, forget about he said, she said. I said, the only way that we're going to accomplish this is if we put all those things behind us and we start fresh. That's what I said.
Right. But the success, the final success of politics is taking what's possible and making the best from that. And that's what my proposal here today, I believe, is. I liked your plan, had no problem with it, would have supported it. It won't work. So if we want to solve this problem, we've got to move forward. We've got to take what is available and make it work.
You know, I once said about Henry Kissinger, he was a great Secretary of State, but I said the problem with Henry Kissinger is his philosophy is peace at any price.
Yeah.
And I can't agree with that. Sometimes you got to stand up. Sometimes you got to say, I'm sorry, but if it's a choice between peace or the best possible representation that we can have with the money that we have available, then I'm sorry.
Well, I'm a great person for standing on principle also. I agree with that. But I've also learned in my lifetime that you have to deal with what is possible and do the best you can. I think what's happening now is not going to improve, and all we're going to do is just continue down this road of wasting taxpayer dollars and having two agencies that are at one another's throats.
Well,
I'd rather seek peace and resolve that, though I don't like the way it's working out, but I'd still go with it.
The issue right now is the seeming issue right now is the mutual aid agreement. And I think maybe there's going to be some proposals there. I don't know. But I ask you this, Ed, and you talked about contracting. Suppose the county commission said, okay, we'll go with contract. And we contracted with the DCEMS, and suppose that it was, as their original proposal was, that they would hire the DCAA employees for 1 year. Now, number one, can you honestly tell me that after 1 year and a day that there's going to be any DCAA employees there?
I don't know so. That's one of my original points. I can guarantee you there's a lot of quality in the AA personnel, and we don't want to lose
I didn't
it.
say that.
No, I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying, why would they let anyone go who is competent?
Now, number two, because we're not going to agree on that one. Number two, let's assume once again that we did that. And down the road, 2 years, let's say, whatever figure that we came up with that would be agreeable for the contract purposes, the DCEMS would say, no, we got to have twice that amount, 3 times that amount. And the county commission said, this is if, said, I'm sorry. And the EMS said, okay, then as of December 31st or June 30th or whatever, we're out. Where does that put Doddridge County once again?
Well, we started an ambulance authority once, and we can start it again.
But
That
why?
would not have to happen.
Why? I mean, does that mean that we have to, as Tammy is going to tell us what the total cost is, why would we put ourselves in a position that that could happen again. Because, Ed, I mean, I hate to go back and make the comparison, but the EMS voted to disassociate itself or end its relationship with Dobbs County. Now, I'm sure that somewhere somebody is aware that I was the one that made the motion out at the park to do that for the DCEMS.
I'm not following, Ray. I have no idea what you're speaking about.
This is about the time. This is the time when the DCEMS decided, because of all the problems, they ended their contract with the Dobbs County.
I thought it was vice versa, but I don't know. I thought the county commission ended their relationship with the EMS instead of the EMS ending their relationship.
You're talking about the park. You're not talking about the commission. You're talking about different.
I'm talking about the park, and the decision wasn't made by the EMS to until that. Well, the recommendation. They asked for recommendation of those people who were in attendance, and I made the motion to end the relationship or end the business relationship. And yeah, Mary Jane was there.
Were we elected
Out at
to
the park.
end our relationship with Doddridge County? Doddridge County EMS is elected to end their relationship with Doddridge County.
I don't remember hearing that.
Okay.
Were you at the meeting
Which meeting was that?
out at the park? Butch was there.
I was.
Yeah, when?
Amnesia has set in, Ray.
Apparently so.
Where?
Apparently so. But it
What
doesn't.
meeting?
There was a meeting at the park
Well, there was
where
a-
they
Was
they
it a
had
commission
a
meeting or?
No, it was a meeting of concerned citizens.
Information
And
meeting.
It was headed by but Daryl Swisher's the one that got up. You call him to ask Daryl. He'll tell you that the recommendation of the people in that meeting was that the EMS end their relationship. And then that was apparently conveyed to the county commission, and Shirley Williams' response was, well, we don't have any option, but we have to form.
No.
no.
The contract
Call
that was between.
Shirley Williams.
We have never stopped providing service for the citizens of Doddridge County. That's why we say call 2211. We have not once stopped.
I beg to differ. You ended on, I think it was June 30th. Does anybody else here recall that, Beth?
How many years ago you talking?
It was back in probably 2009,
Tentatively.
because it was shortly after that the county commission went ahead
It
and
was-
set up the DCAA
Yeah.
formulation board or whatever they called it.
I was there.
You were at that meeting. And if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the whole county was obviously.
Yeah, it was a big meeting. It was a big meeting,
You
and
know,
it was
if
just
you don't show
information.
any respect, we can have you removed.
So,
So,
I mean, you know,
okay, just keep your comments, your smart comments to yourself, or make them in a manner that shows some respect.
Excuse me, Greg, may I ask the question? I was out, I apologize. Can you back up a little bit so I know what's going on here?
He's
What
talking
meeting you're
about
talking about?
An information meeting out at the park where Daryl got up and I guess voted. I can't remember that part of it, but
I'll be honest, I don't remember that. I don't even remember being there, to tell you the truth, but I probably was.
I was there.
If you want to know, call Daryl Swisher.
Well,
He,
I'm not doing this disrespectfully, but you're talking about an entirely different beast. We are not the organization we were in 2009.
Well,
Not even the same organization we were last year. We have grown, we have improved, we have met all of our state requirements and standards. And it
Okay.
sort of gets disgusting that you haven't come straight out and said it, but it seems like you're inferring that we are below quality.
Well,
We have a letter from the commission where they ended the contract for the 911 service for Doddridge County EMS and the county commission.
that was because in a meeting, Daryl said that.
But
he
you
was
all are
going
the
to-
ones that ended it because we have the letter.
He indicated that,
He may have indicated, but the commission is the one that ended it in writing, sir.
well, you know,
May I
it's
say-
tit for tat.
May I say something here? The DCEMS had a board, just like you all meet. Daryl Swisher, as a person, even as the president of the board, didn't have the right to end anything by himself.
I didn't say that he ended it. The fact of the matter is that the service was ended. And let's get back to my original comments that I was going to make, which was, let's assume that they decided not to, and we're at the same, and that's where we were when all this other discussion started. So why should we put ourselves in that position again?
Well, Craig, to me, that's assuming a bad, unlikely, hypothetical 2 years down the road. And anybody can do that. My wife's good at imagining bad 2-year hypotheticals down the road. Now, if we do this, that's going to happen. But we can't go on what might happen 2 years down the road. Now, we do have to consider that. I agree with you, Greg, on that. We do have to consider that possibility. But I don't think that's a likely scenario. And the certain scenario is what we have to deal with today. And that's never going to improve. You could work with the call out 911 or whatever you're doing. You could play around the edges with this issue, but until you solve it, it's not going to go away. So that's the reality of today. And we could look at possible bad realities 2 years down the road. So we have to do what is best for the county now.
Well,
And look at those possibilities. Certainly, making your decision, that needs to be a part of that decision. What might happen if we do this? Certainly, I'd agree with that. It needs to be logical, it needs to be reasonable, but it also needs to be within the bounds of what is possible.
well, we have a basic disagreement there, and when you say that we can go on the possibilities of what's to happen, we can also, there's also another saying, and that is the best predictor of things to come is look at the things that have happened in the past.
And I agree with that. That's certainly a reasonable statement.
And it's simply a matter of, as I said, the day that I voted not to. I said the people of Doddridge County elected me, and quite obviously there's going to be a few or some that wouldn't vote for me again. But I feel extremely confident, Ed, in saying there's a whole lot more people that agree with my position than who disagree with it.
I disagree with you, but
Well,
respectfully.
Since I made that,
Sure.
You
You
made
hear
that
from
decision?
people who believe as you do.
yeah.
And you don't hear from the vast majority out there who disagree with you. They're not going to call you up and tell you that.
Why not?
Because
What did I
people
say?
are afraid to say, I don't like your decision.
What did I say when I was running for office?
Oh, you said I'm always open. But what we say and what people perceive are two things. And just because you say, call me if you don't like what I'm doing, they're not gonna do that.
Okay, well, you know, the only thing that I can go on is, you know, what I hear from people. You know, I'm not going to accept someone saying, there's half a dozen people over here that it's like you. Well, that's probably true. And there's also been people that have come into this meeting and said, you know, we voted for you and we can vote against you. And you know what my response to them was, don't you?
Go ahead.
I said, number one, I haven't decided if I'm going to run again. And if I do, then it'll be upon the merits of what I have done on the county commission. And I think, well, that's neither here nor there. If you had come in here today and said, you think maybe we ought to explore once again the possibilities of putting the two together, I would have said, I'm up for it. But I'm not up for it if it's going to be somebody coming in and saying, this is the way it's going to be. And, you know, there's a whole lot of DNA in me. You know, I knew your mom and dad, and I knew your dad, and your dad was probably a lot like my dad. That if you told him, you're going to do this.
Sounds like my wife.
Well, I won't make any comments on that. But that was the point. Is if you tell me you're going to do something this way, it's going to be. When I have a choice, and I'm not going to say, well, just because it's your idea, we're not going to do that. I will look at the merits, and then if it looks like it's a good proposal, I'll go along with it. Even though when we went into these negotiations, you said you're going to do it my way, period. But I'm not going to.
I'm not in the middle of any negotiations. I'm just telling you what I think.
I appreciate
And
that.
that's where I stand, and it'll be up to you guys to decide. I mean, I tell you what I think, and you decide what is right.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I got one thing to say. I think Greg's been on the fence all day. I don't think he came in here telling us, demanding us to do anything. I didn't gather it that way. That's what he came in here for.
Yeah, I came in as a private citizen with my opinions, and that's all it's worth.
Let me correct one thing, Butch. I wasn't suggesting that Ed said you've got to do this. I was referring to the negotiations for putting the two organizations together. That's what I was referring to.
I understood that part, but I'll go back a little bit further. You said that maybe at one point you might have thought about discussing a get-together if he hadn't come in and told us we had to do that.
No.
Yes, you did.
Well, what I was, that may have been the way it was interpreted. That wasn't the way it
That's
was
the way
meant.
I interpret it.
Well, it wasn't the way it was meant.
Okay.
What was meant was, I'm not going to be in a position, if we were to do that, it's going to have to be a different situation. It's going to have to be a situation where both sides would negotiate. And not a situation like it was before, where it was dictated to us the way it was going to be. And that's what I was referring to. I wasn't, I knew that Ed didn't come in here and demand anything. I've known Ed for a long time, and Ed's very reasonable and level-headed. We happen to disagree on this. I know that what his objective is, and we just disagree.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ed.
I believe that concludes the new business. Was there any old business? I think there was one and I had requested that you put it on the agenda for this meeting.